How Bob Marley settled his wildest legal dispute. Bob Marley was born to a white British naval officer who vanished like smoke, and a Black Jamaican storyteller who raised him with rhythm and resilience. From the zinc fences of Trench Town to the gilded halls of the UK Supreme Court, Bob Marley's life wasn't just music, it was a legal thriller, a love story, and a revolution wrapped in dreadlocks. Why did he credit his biggest hits to a soup kitchen owner? What happened when his widow tried to rewrite history with a forged signature? Before we dive deep into the legendary life and legal legacy of Bob Marley, don't forget to follow us, subscribe, and click that notification bell, so you never miss a beat when we drop more intriguing stories, untold truths, and jaw-dropping revelations from the lives of the world's most iconic figures. Bob Marley was born on February 6, 1945, in 9 Mile, a quiet village nestled in St. Ann Parish, Jamaica. His father, Norval Sinclair Marley, was a white British naval officer, older, distant, and more myth than man. Norval married Cedella Booker, a young Black Jamaican singer and storyteller, but their union was brief and strained. Norval was mostly absent because, quite frankly, he didn't stick around. He provided financial support sporadically, but never played an active role in Bob's upbringing. Some say his military obligations kept him away. Others whisper that societal pressures and racial tensions made him retreat. Cedella, on the other hand, was a force of nature. She raised Bob with grit, grace, and gospel, teaching him to find strength in struggle and rhythm in hardship. She sang, she prayed, she hustled. Bob once said, "My mother was my first teacher. She taught me how to survive." Bob grew up poor, but spiritually rich. His childhood was marked by economic hardship, but also by a deep connection to music and mysticism. He believed in Jah, the Rastafarian name for God, and saw music as a divine calling. He moved to Trench Town, Kingston, a gritty, vibrant neighborhood where zinc fences rattled with rhythm and every street corner had a story. There, he met Bunny Livingston, later Bunny Wailer, and Peter Tosh, two young men with guitars, grit, and a shared hunger for change. Together, they formed the Wailers, blending ska, rocksteady, and Rastafarian philosophy into a sound that was both revolutionary and irresistible. Their music wasn't just entertainment, it was education, protest, and prayer. Bob's lyrics spoke of oppression, unity, and spiritual awakening. He wasn't just a singer, he was a prophet with a microphone. In 1966, Bob married Alpharetta Rita Anderson, a singer with a voice like honey and a spirit like thunder. She became his backup singer, spiritual partner, and the mother of 4 of his children. But Bob was a rolling stone with a guitar. He fathered at least 11 children with 7 different women, including Ziggy Marley, Stephen Marley, and Damian Marley, all of whom inherited his musical fire. Rita once said, "Bob loved all his children. He just didn't love monogamy." Their marriage was complex, filled with music, faith, and infidelity, yet Rita remained the cornerstone of Bob's personal and professional life. She stood by him through tours, temptations, and tumors. She was the queen of the Marley kingdom, even when the king wandered. Now, here's where the dreadlocks meet the legal briefs. In 1973, Bob signed a publishing agreement with Cayman Music Inc., CMI, giving them rights to his songwriting. But Bob, ever the rebel, began crediting his songs to friends and family, allegedly to avoid transferring rights to CMI. Songs like No Woman, No Cry, Natty Dread, and Who the Cap Fit were attributed to Vincent Ford, a humble man who ran a soup kitchen in Trench Town. Bob reportedly wanted Ford to receive royalties directly as a way to support his community and bypass corporate control. It was Marley's way of saying, "Babylon can't own my soul or my songs." But CMI cried foul. They claimed the misattributions were fraudulent, arguing that Bob was still the true author and that they still owned the rights. In 1992, CMI sold its catalog to Blue Mountain Music, but later insisted that the misattributed songs weren't part of the deal. The case ricocheted through the High Court, Court of Appeal, and finally the UK Supreme Court. It was a legal marathon, with lawyers quoting Marley lyrics and judges parsing contracts like riddles. The heart of the case? Whether Bob's misattributions invalidated the publishing agreement and excluded those songs from the sale. The courts ruled in favor of Blue Mountain Music. The judges found that Bob's intent was to transfer all rights, and excluding the disputed songs would be little short of ridiculous. The misattributions didn't void the contract. They were Marley's way of protecting his people, not dodging his obligations. Quote from the ruling: "A contract is unlikely to be interpreted against its apparent meaning." Translation: Bob may have been poetic, but the paperwork was plain. Bob Marley died on May 11, 1981, at just 36 years old, after a long battle with acral lentiginous melanoma, a rare form of skin cancer. Despite his global fame, his spiritual depth, and his millions in royalties, Bob died without a will. Why? Because Bob was a Rastaman, and in Rastafarian belief, writing a will was seen as acknowledging death, a betrayal of faith in eternal life. Bob believed Jah would guide his soul, not lawyers. Unfortunately, Jah didn't handle probate. Under Jamaican law, his estate was to be divided among his wife, Rita Marley, and his children. But Bob had at least 11 children with 7 different women, and millions of dollars in music rights, royalties, and real estate. The result? A legal jam session that turned into a courtroom concert of chaos. In the aftermath of Bob's death, Rita Marley, his widow and longtime backup singer, attempted to forge Bob's signature on documents that would transfer key assets into her name. The goal? To simplify the estate and protect it from fragmentation. She was caught. The forgery was discovered during legal proceedings. But Rita was not prosecuted. Why? Because the courts recognized her intent wasn't malicious. She wasn't trying to steal Bob's legacy, she was trying to preserve it. She was forgiven, not because the act was legal, but because the motive was love. With the estate in disarray, the Jamaican courts appointed Chris Blackwell, founder of Island Records, as one of the estate administrators. Blackwell had signed Bob to Island in the early 1970s and was instrumental in bringing reggae to the global stage. He was trusted, respected, and most importantly, not a Marley. His job was to untangle the legal knots, manage the royalties, and keep the Marley brand from becoming a corporate free-for-all. For 10 years, the Marley estate was locked in litigation. Children filed claims, business partners disputed contracts, merchants sold Marley's face on everything from rolling papers to ringtones. But slowly, the estate stabilized. The Bob Marley Foundation was created to support charitable causes in Jamaica and beyond. Tough Gong International, Bob's original record label and studio, was revived to manage his music catalog and brand. The Marley name became not just a legacy, but a licensed empire. As Bob's image became iconic, companies began slapping it on t-shirts, posters, headphones, mugs, and mousepads, often without permission. The estate, now legally fortified, began suing for unauthorized use of Bob's likeness. One notable case involved Avila, a merchandising company that sold Marley-themed products without approval. The estate took them to court, arguing that Bob's right of publicity extended beyond the grave. The court agreed. The estate won, reinforcing that Marley's image was not public domain, but protected property. Today, only approved vendors can use Bob's image, lyrics, or name. The Marley brand is tightly controlled, like a well-tuned bass line. Though Bob never won a Grammy during his lifetime, a travesty really, he was posthumously awarded the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2001, honoring his indelible impact on music and culture. In 1994, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, standing alongside legends whose guitars never wept quite like his. And in Jamaica, he received the Order of Merit, the country's third highest honor, for his contribution to the nation's identity and global influence. Weaknesses. Bob avoided legal formalities like the plague. No will, no estate plan, no trust. He believed in spirit over statute, which left his legacy vulnerable to Babylon's bureaucracy. Addictions. Music was his oxygen. Football was his obsession. He played barefoot in hotel lobbies. And ganja? That was his sacrament, his meditation, his muse. Controversies. Bob was politically active, especially during Jamaica's violent elections in the 1970s. He survived an assassination attempt in 1976, performed 2 days later, and became a symbol of peace. His multiple relationships and refusal of chemotherapy also drew criticism, but Bob lived by his own rhythm. Regrets. In his final days, Bob reportedly said to his son Ziggy, "Money can't buy life," a line that hits harder than any bass drop. Bob Marley's legal disputes, spanning song rights, estate battles, and image licensing, were resolved through litigation, but not without pain. His legacy now rests in the hands of his family, his foundation, and the fans who still chant his name. He once said, "Live for yourself, and you will live in vain. Live for others, and you will live again. Next up, Michael Jackson. Before you go, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the legendary life and legal legacy of Michael Jackson, don't forget to follow us, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you never miss a beat when we drop more intriguing stories, untold truths, and jaw-dropping revelations from the lives of the world's most iconic figures. Your next favorite story is just one click away. Stay tuned, stay curious, and stay legendary.